Hi guys, and welcome back to the BWN Podcast. Today is episode 12, and we've got a bit of a different kind of episode today, but then again we always try and make them different from the previous one. What you'll notice is a bit of a trend, if you've been sort of the more eagle-eyed viewers of you in the last few weeks anyway. We've had multiple different year group perspectives in terms of students in sort of the last few weeks. In terms of episode 9, we had Jack Molyneux come on from third year. In terms of episode 10, we had Ben Walton, sort of a writer from my own year group. In episode 11 last week, we had Jaron Fuji-Shan in a sort of, I believe he's doing a top-up year, I believe it is. Sort of a different year group dynamic there, where it's just a one-year thing. And, well, today, I believe so, if I'm looking back on the episode count up till now, I'm joined by my first year on the pod today. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, Matthew. How are you?
I'm good. How have you been finding things settling in sort of the first few months? Because we're going to explain like our relationship particularly as time goes on. But right off the bat, how are things? Would you say you're fully settled now? Would you say?
No.
That's
yes,
it, guys.
yeah.
See you later. Goodbye.
Yeah. No. I've quite enjoyed my time, but in the same way that one enjoys a car crash, it's been pretty stressful. You know. There's a kind of sadomasochistic element to it. It's
gonna be hell of an hour, man. It's gonna be hell of an hour. That's great.
It's been fine. There's been stresses, but there's also been a lot of high points, and I'm glad to still be here in one piece, basically. Yeah.
Is there anything particular about sort of the course, or whether that be a particular role on set, or anything that you sort of cling to that's kind of been your anchor? Like, what's been the big thing you've enjoyed?
Directing and editing, but that kind of goes hand in hand to an extent. Yeah, being in control, bossing people around, generally being a prick. That's my... People who've worked with me know that I like to go a bit Stanley Kubrick on them. No, not really. I don't think quite to the extent he did, but yeah.
So it's I think it's a common thing, because we'll tie this into a day, but I think it is a common thing that a lot of people, especially students, I hear this a lot. Nick said it a hell of a lot, at least anyway. That there's everyone wants to direct. That's a very common thing that's said. There's in terms of specialising in different areas, it's kind of that element of control is something that a lot of students just want.
Yes,
and it's very much who can.
I know. It's for me personally. That's what I'm looking for, because I'm looking to express my ideas badly, but eventually, hopefully, decently. And I just want to keep developing my style and skills. So what better way to do that than to sort of have a control over everything? I mean, I like doing other roles as well, but it's the one I'm most suited to because it's where I started out. I just was like, I'm gonna make films, aren't I? So I picked up my phone, dragged my friends out of their houses, and we made some really, really terrible films. But it was good. It's got me to this point, so it didn't go so bad.
Same as me. I've got my fair share of childhood experiences doing stuff like that. From what I understand it, in terms of in general, you're a big horror guy.
Oh yeah. What was the Instagram name? A bit of a giveaway, perhaps.
Yeah.
No, I am. I haven't changed that name. I would change it because it's really terrible, but I'm not going to. I'm big on horror. I'm big on action films. I'm big on anything, to be fair, but those are the kind of horror and action are kind of my mainstays. I'm a big James Bond fan. It's my favorite franchise, and it's been with me pretty much all my life. So
that checks out. I can see you being a big James Bond fan. From what I know, I can definitely say that. Yeah. Who's your favorite?
Really good question. Probably, Timothy Dalton.
I knew it wouldn't be Craig. Yeah.
No, I like Craig. I'm less keen on his films. I think they're a bit hit and miss, whereas Dalton had two great films, but I like all of them. There's not a single Bond I dislike. There's only a few films I actually dislike in general. Yeah. Mainly the Craig ones, but yeah.
You do strike me as a Bond fan, but like an old Bond fan.
I mean, the first film I watched, and I think it encapsulates a lot of the genres that I like, was Live and Let Die, Roger Moore, but it also has elements of horror with the whole sort of voodoo cult element. It's very unique in that sense, and it just gripped me. I was 4 years old, and I instead of getting Thomas the Tank Engine, my mum sat me in front of the TV and said, right, pick one of these DVDs from your dad's collection. I said, I want to watch that one because the cover looked cool, and I was just taken on this sort of adventure, and it's like the first time that film really kind of Like, you got this whole sort of scale of everything, and I didn't understand the plot.
Yeah, the scale, all right.
Yeah.
4-year-old,
Yeah.
and you saw that villain death. How demented must you be? That was horrifying.
Pretty demented. It just happened, didn't it? I mean,
There's been some Bond villain deaths, but that is just...
I take it you're talking about Kananga at the end, where he...
Yeah.
Well, things ballooned out of control, so,
Oh, and he's coming with the 007 puns as well.
Shaken,
brilliant.
not stirred.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's... I don't know how much you would back me up on this. Again, we haven't spent a ridiculous time with each other, but I...
Blame that on my uni schedule.
From a kid, from just sort of icons, I've modelled so much of who I am, because we all do. But like, as a kid, my two big ones were Craig's Bond and Steve Rogers' Captain America. It was them two.
Yeah.
They were like my guys. And that is, the Craig Bond, I think, I would never choose to watch Quantum of Solace. I would never choose to watch that.
Yeah.
I'd actually rarely watch Casino. And I think No Time to Die, I'd potentially pop on every so often.
Casino Royale is interesting because I think it's excellent and probably the best amongst the best films of the series. Top 5, for me. And this is, again, me saying I don't like the era when you stack them all together. But it is excellent, but it's also something that you really need to get yourself into. It's the same thing with On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I mean, that film's 2.5 hours long. It's amazing, but you've got to have the patience for it. It's not like, say, I don't know, one of Brosnan's films, Tomorrow Never Dies. Tomorrow Never Dies is just like action, little break, action. And it's great. I think it's very underrated, but very different kind of film. So, yeah.
To me, what really hits there is I love Mendes' take on Bond. I really, really do, because even though whatever you can say about Spectre, different to Skyfall,
of course,
the style is the same.
Yeah,
like I really love what he did with it. It's just it's I think Craig and Sam Mendes in that sandbox is the equivalent to. I do genuinely believe I think it'll be Nolan next, because we can make this relevant now.
Yes,
I think it will be Nolan next.
I do, because there's a rumor, and I've got no evidence to this claim, but I'm in the community, and I sort of read online that Nolan had in fact been offered the job, but he wanted Final Cut, and they wouldn't give him Final Cut. And now that Broccoli is sold, like they wouldn't give him Final Cut on the film.
Right.
Traditionally, Eon doesn't give the Bond, like the directors, the final cut. I mean, that they have a pretty close relationship. They're kind of like a family, but they won't say go off and do whatever the hell you like, because they've employed some pretty avant-garde directors in their time, as well as a lot of sort of workman-like guys who will just get the job done. And I think those are the guys generally that they're looking for. When they get a guy like Mendes, they are taking a risk, so they taper it back just a little bit. And with Nolan, and you know what he's like for complicated plots, they're taking a hell of a risk. So it would be great. Amazon, I think, wants something new that's going to launch Bond again for a new audience. And though I have my misgivings about the way they're probably going to approach it, I think you're right. They will probably give the offer to him again, and possibly, give him that freedom that he wants.
I think Nolan is actually, with people's worries about Amazon messing it up, essentially, I actually think Nolan is the choice.
Yeah.
Because I think he will not let that happen.
Yeah.
I think without the Broccolis in the picture, I think he is the one anchor that's going to make sure that it's done.
Yeah, because he has an extreme respect for those older films. I mean, we were talking about Majesty's Secret Service there. Inception, the finale of that is it's riffed straight from it. Nolan and what was it? The Dark Knight Rises, that nicks the opening from License to Kill, with the plane being hung on the wire and stuff. So he's a big Bond fan. I do think he would, in his own way, do it justice. Because people sort of say, he would, just go in with his own style. But I mean, look what he did with the Batman films. They are not necessarily full-blown Nolan like Tenet or any of his other films. They're quite considered of what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And they work brilliantly. Yeah, he understands the assignment, absolutely. When he needs to taper things down and not go for his personal vision 100% of the time, and just deliver something that's going to be really good and a real crowd pleaser, I think he's capable of doing that.
I'd be very interested to see what he does with Odyssey.
Yeah, there's already a bit of speculation about that. I don't know too much about it myself. I've not really read into it, but I'm interested. It's Christopher Nolan.
Again, if we're now taking this avenue to go big with a discussion to wrap up this kind of intro in a sense, this is. Next year is going to be fire. Next year is going to be insane. We can try and actually think here of what what's actually on the cards for next year, because when you consider it, it's actually kind of insane. What do you want to do? Do you want to do this by studio maybe? Because I'm trying to think of like what big things people have got on the way. Because immediately, I don't know why DreamWorks is the first thing that comes to my head, but immediately off the bat,
It's not Shrek 5, is it?
yeah.
Oh, is it?
Immediately off the bat, that's what comes to my head. The idea of them doing a fifth one after all this time, do I hate it? No. Do I not like the new art design? I don't at all. I don't.
Yeah, no complaints there. Yeah, I don't really like it myself.
Are they pulling a Sonic? Is this deliberate?
I mean, I think the theory is now that Sonic itself was deliberate. I think they might be pulling the same sort of thing.
The thing is, I don't trust Hollywood enough for that Sonic was deliberate.
That's true.
Really do.
That's true. They can either be clever and manipulative enough, or they can be that stupid. I mean, it could go either way.
To be fair, if Sonic was maneuvered, if that was an actual deliberate maneuver, that is the biggest 4D chess I've seen in years.
Yeah, that was genius. And regardless, they fixed it. You know, regardless of what the intent was and the motive, they fixed it, and it turned out all right. Like, they're not films I would like rewatch, but they're decent little like time wasters. That sounds awful.
Yeah.
No, they're good fun. They're good fun.
Yeah,
they're good fun.
I was looking forward to Sonic 3
Yeah.
as let's say the next Marvel one coming out was. Like the next Marvel movie, it was on that same caliber. I know Sonic is huge to begin with, but it was actually taken with sincerity.
It's a good their actual good video game adaptations are still in this day and age as rare as they come. So to actually get one, especially after all the backlash, totally.
Yeah, I honestly say the ones that I just have not missed. Right, I think there are elements that the likes of FNAF and Mario got right. Some elements that were just full on move. Yeah. I think if you take that skill, if you take the slight nitpicks you could say about Mario, and you dial them to an 11, you end up with a Minecraft movie.
Yes, FNAF was Minecraft movies is something. FNAF was interesting. I remember when I saw that, and I had a good time with it, but they had their hands tied. They couldn't delve into the full darkness of the material, the pure terror. And I mean, you know, people go, "Oh, it's like a kid's game." It's not. I mean, it's kind of toned down over time. But those original 4 games, I remember I was playing them. I was probably about 10 years old. Me and my mates, we were obsessed with it. It was terrifying. The atmosphere was gripping. It's such a simple structure, and it told its story in such an ambiguous but clever way. And it was a great sort of horror gateway.
Do you think the horror worked for you in that movie? Because I don't think
it
did.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was enjoyable, but it doesn't work as a horror film.
The only thing that even remotely worked was, I think, one scare from Foxy, and other than that, the cupcake.
Yeah.
And one word, velocity. One word. They're all in clunky, very well made, by the way, but in clunky practical suits that can go, that are like a snail's pace. They can't move at all.
Yeah.
It's not. It's. If you want the experience of the games, that was lightning. Those jump scares were lightning. You want that same experience.
Well, when you see Foxy going along, I mean, I think Foxy was the only one that was like CG or not purely practical in a sense.
Yeah.
I admired the decision to go purely practical because your eye picks it out and it's like that immersion is there. But it does have its drawbacks.
It should have been a hybrid. It should have definitely been a hybrid.
Definitely.
The horror sequences should have definitely been a CG.
Yeah, because like you say, when you watch in the original game, where Foxy runs along that hallway, but we can apply this to all the animatronics. It's like that. It's a flash, and you have about a second to close that door, or you're cooked. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's over.
It as well as that. Obviously, we're talking about Odyssey and everything.
Yeah.
I was saying this 2 episodes ago, but the current Marvel saga is reaching its peak finally next summer. I'm as apprehensive as the next man, but also very much looking forward to the Russos coming back and seeing if they can make something of this. I think Doomsday is, I'd actually argue, potentially probably top 3 most important movies the MCU's ever had to make.
Oh, it's either gonna be their comeback or it's gonna be the nail in the coffin. That's the thing.
Yeah.
No, there'll be.
You
more,
could say the same about DC.
Yeah.
You could say the same about Superman this summer.
True.
They honestly, if they tank Superman, bad shape. They're in bad shape.
Bad shape, and that's not the first time they've been in bad shape.
From industry insiders, apparently the movie's really good. Apparently Superman's really good.
Yeah, I just want to believe a man can fly. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like the Christopher Reeve films. Like they're not so good. The first 2 are amazing. and we don't really talk about the fourth film. The third film's okay, but like, you know, that image of Superman, if they can kind of recapture some of that and you know, do their own thing with it, I'll be happy with that. I'll take that. I'm apprehensive. When it comes to Marvel, I'll be honest with you, my interest in Marvel kind of like, I don't watch the new stuff that comes out. I don't take an opinion on it. I just say it's not really for me anymore. But I will go back for Doomsday. I'll give them another chance, see if it reignites any interest, because, you know, we've got Avengers, and Avengers Age of Ultron's pretty good, and then Infinity War's great, and Endgame was a sort of a monumental moment for me as a moviegoer, you know, to see that, to see the portals open up reflected on the bald backside of my teacher's head. No, that's a real story. My teacher sat in front of me in the cinema, and that was great. So I got to see the whole film reflected on the back of his shiny head. But yeah, that's another story.
Look, hell, we could all be in a position. We could all be in a position where we end up going to Doomsday, and I could make a thing of it. Which leads me on to, how you're even sat here. So, with what it is that we've been doing, at least lately, there's not an enormous amount we can talk about and plans that we have going forward. But obviously, I've said in a very minimal capacity with what's coming out very much in real time in the current day, with very little time between recording and coming out. Very much in the 2025 culture still. I've said little hints here and there that there are far more people coming in terms of the network, whereas after the 6-month hiatus last year, I very much came back into that system as the only true face to it, who I kind of was anyway, obviously. But truly, the one, it was ground zero. It was me as one person, charging forward and trying to get as many as possible, hoping that I could try and rebuild the team. Essentially, ironically, what Marvel's doing now after the original Avengers fell. But It's like I've been trying to see what is the future of what it is I'm trying to build. A lot of developments have happened since, yeah, we're in a position now where we have a lot of people on the way, and you, my friend, are one of them. So, how did this sort of, from your perspective, because I know that you were a part of the sort of the podcast pilot sort of experiment, sort of the experimenting that was done with Jaron, who was on last week.
Yes.
And that was a complete shock to me when I heard that. I had no idea you and Ella were on it. But
he just came up to me because Jaron had helped out with the edit of my film so much and given me advice. So I said, yeah, do you know what, sit me down for a few minutes, we'll have a chat. But yeah, anyway. So
how, from your perspective, from start to finish, because we kind of understand where your interests are now and where you're coming to this from and what you like about modern media, what you don't. Moving into first year, coming into this whole culture at Sunderland here, and you're at least partially surviving. How did this start? And without giving specifics about any projects that we've done, though days on set, I can definitely say, basically, if you keep remote track of what it is that I've actually put out there as evidence, like, you've obviously been in stuff because we've got evidence out there, but it's like, talk about what it is they know and nothing else. So this is, yeah, how did this start?
Before that, let me apologise for the preamble. Matthew, you're great, but we should just mute my channel for that first couple of minutes. No, right. Answering that question. How did I come to be here? I saw you, didn't I? And then I did some digging. You did your presentation, and I thought, he looks like he's got his head screwed on, so we'll give him a try. Give him the benefit of the doubt. Ambitious, possibly stupidly ambitious, but... We all are. Perfectly fair. So am I. And I thought, this like-minded people, not the stupid part. Just sort of saw it, and I thought, let's give it a go. And if I don't like it, I'll just respectfully leave, and you'll find someone else. And good luck to him. But so far, I've got no reason to. So far, I don't think that'll change. It's fine. You're a good lad. Yeah.
So. Yeah, we've got a new system going on with a lot of different people. We've got a fair-sized team now, all of which playing their part and doing individual and in some cases very specialised based things. Primarily based on what you actually enjoy outside of the network. Directing is your sort of big sort of domain. we're certainly looking into how we can kind of exercise that muscle. I think we can say, going forward across this year's production season. Anyway,
See, why don't you just speak for me? Because if you let me speak, I'm just going to rub my mouth about a bunch of stuff that's meant to be under wraps. No, all I can say about what I've done is I've been involved in some shoots. I've been involved in some vision mixing, and I've really enjoyed my time.
For Game Central. For
games.
Mm-hmm.
Cat's out of the bag now.
Anything this year is fine because any project that's coming out this year, they know it. They know it's coming.
Sure.
So that was how did you find that one day? How did you like Game Central?
Vision mixing, that was enjoyable. Yeah. We just you got set up and you lot got to play video games and I got to mess around with my own kind of buttons. So I was good. I enjoyed it because it's a different kind of pace for me. You know, when you edit, you spend so much time. I mean, I don't want to go on a tangent about it, but when I went on holiday last year, I went to the Netherlands and I went with my mates and I shot a bunch of footage, basically with the intention of making a little sort of trip down memory lane film we can look at in 20 years and enjoy. That
sounds awesome.
It's going really well, but this is the thing though, I've been editing it for like 6 months now and I've got a lot of footage. I'm on to Amsterdam now, and we've just gone down a certain district in absolute horror at what we were seeing, and I do mean that genuinely. It's horrible place, and the footage of that is just hilarious because you can see I'm trying to get these quick glimpses of it on camera, and then just putting my phone away in shame because I just it just basically it's just sleaze. Open sleaze, and I wasn't a fan of it at all. I'm 6 foot and I support women, by the way. But really, it was quite an experience. But that's just one little part of it that I've spent ages tinkering around with, and contrasting that process of working on something for months and months, changing your mind, changing music, even changing the way your audio fucking fades. Honestly, I'm picky. If I get the time, I'm picky. But with this, I had to edit live on the spot with Ella, and there were little changes we can make afterwards. But generally, the sequence of events, that's what it says, and I really enjoyed that because it's just something new, being able to jump into something, and once it's done, it's pretty much done. My capacity on that project is now finished, for now at least, and I can say that it was just a fun bit of experience. Just wanted to get involved, basically.
What can I say? Do you know what? There's a fair bit that I can see, actually. There is a fair bit I can say, because I'm thinking everything about next year is entirely under wraps. It is not, because now I've started a scheme. Very much at the time of which you see this. At the time of which you see this, I've now started a scheme where a year in advance, I'm announcing everything coming out. And at least by the time this comes out, in March's case, everything coming out in March 2026 has now been announced by the time this comes out. So let's talk about what let's talk about what you're attached to quickly. So let me just think here. So in terms of so the big one is now we know that in less than a year from now, studios will finally be coming back, and at least in a post-production capacity, as things stand, you are attached to that project.
I am attached to. Can I say it by now?
Yep.
Yeah, I can say it. Okay, so I'm attached to Honey, and I'm gonna edit that. I get on well with the director, and I'm looking forward to it. Eve's so lovely and she's just easy to work with. She saved my ass big time on that film, right? Not in a literal sense, but no, she did. Because
what do you mean literal sense? What the fuck do you mean?
Let's move on from that. My brain works in strange ways. But if you're watching this, just ignore me. We're talking about someone who I tried to decapitate with a clapperboard, though. So the photos are out there.
Save my arse, but decapitate with a clapperboard.
Yeah, I know. I've got a very strange way of paying favors. It's but we needed an actress to come in, and I didn't have anyone, and nobody else had asked around in the group, and that's fine. So I just went up to her and I said, "Be in my film." She said, "Yeah, okay," and that was great. But funny thing was when she came in to shoot her scenes, we lost the location. I think I told you about that, and we lost the location because something got screwed up, and some tutors took over and kind of very rudely chucked us out of the place. Nah, I mean they were entitled to, but still, it was a bit annoying.
I don't like on locations. I really don't like permissions and scheduled locations.
Yeah, it's
I
horrid.
really don't
I
like
prefer
organised
using
events.
stuff that I have. Like, I prefer having stuff that I can just use, like my house, friend's house. You know, you ain't gonna get chucked out. Now that's coming from a really low budget perspective.
Yeah.
But also, it's funny. It's so ironic, right? Because the reason we shot on campus is because like campus is like the easiest place to shoot. You know, all student films get shot on campus because, well, we don't have to haul the equipment very far. We did in the end. It was on the opposite side of the river, and we had to carry it by hand every day because no one had a car. Yeah. I'm still waiting on to get my license, but I don't know about that. We'll see. We just came in. They were like, "You're out." So we had to scramble to find a room, and then further adding to the irony of having to haul the equipment across the river, we were in the room next to the equipment store. You couldn't have asked for a worse situation. The redeeming factor was that the room was in fact 007. So I sort of thought, oh, that's nice. It's irrelevant, but it's nice. We got the film done. That's the main point. Anyway,
yes,
Eve's wonderful, and she saved us big time on that one. So yeah.
We are. I will say, like, I know our plan a fair bit ahead. At the time of recording, we are very, very early in development. Like at this point, there's very much of a hint outside of me and Eve as to what this film is going to be.
Yeah,
like it's still very early days.
I am just the humble editor.
Pretty much, yeah. People. Even you at this point, it's very much like an elevator pitch. At this point, people know an elevator pitch about this film. It is very simple. A script is on the way, and it is very early. It's really exciting because this is the first thing of 2026 that I've actually talked about in this pod because I'm remembering in real time. Oh no, we've tried this new system. This is now actually this is we can talk about, even if it's like vaguely, very much on service level. We can talk about these things now once they're announced, which is actually really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's that. So. Overall, things are bright right now, and at least for what we're working with extracurricular-wise, we're surviving, and we've talked about sort of culture in general outside of everything that we're doing. In terms of today, and the big thing to really cover, it's about. I'm not doing what you did to me a second ago. I'm not like tapping your head and be like, oh yeah, you're younger than all the rest of us. It's a case of, from a first year's perspective, I think it'd be very interesting.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? How old are you?
There's something about to happen here. I'm 20.
All right, I'm 19, but still, I'm in the same. I'm in the same year as you. Really, I'm a year down. I took a year out, so don't talk to me like that. Don't patronize me. Patronize them. Patronize the other first years. Some of them are like, they're just fresh off their A levels. I couldn't give a fuck about them. All right. Don't talk to me like that. Right. As we were. Yeah. Go on. Let's like.
Oh, that was dirty. Oh no. Oh my god. Oh my word. You probably twisted the knife on that one, didn't you? Oh god. He doesn't care about you guys. He did your group. He doesn't care about you. Oh my god.
You are there for my use and nothing else. No, you guys. Hey, look, if any of you guys watch this, please, you guys are wonderful. I'm sorry. This is just my way. Some of you know that, some of you don't. Those who don't know that, now you do. Yeah.
Oh man, I can't believe we just done that. Right.
Getting back to the subject, I'm just hijacking this podcast here.
Oh no, but please do. It's very entertaining. Very entertaining. So with that, with sort of a first year perspective coming into this fresh with at least academically a good few years.
Of course. No,
good few years ahead of you.
I'm coming in fresh. All right.
A good few years ahead of you. Yeah. When you staring down the barrel to graduation, you've got a fair bit to go.
Yeah.
Obviously, future prospects are an enormous part of the discussion here because it seems like by the day things are changing. I know we've with Philip a good few weeks ago, I talked about from our year group's perspective and just personally between the two of us, having done a lot on the network together, how we feel about graduating when all's said and done. This is very much a similar episode, probably the most similar to it, in that I really want to understand from your perspective and first years who are coming into this almost like the home straight of the educational process.
Yeah, sure.
When that safety net is taken away, which we talked about a lot a good few weeks ago, from a new student's perspective, which you'll be the first of these 10 plus episodes to be in that position.
If it keeps going like this, I'll probably be the last as well. But, yeah, I've got quite a few things to. I think I've got a few things to say about that.
Yeah.
And this is within the context of I've got no clue what I'm doing. I don't know the business. I don't understand it. I don't understand fucking taxes, man, let alone the film business. It's like, the thing is, I've kind of come into this from a dreamer's perspective. That sounds so pretentious, but let me explain it. Right, one of my big sort of, I don't like to idolize filmmakers, celebrities and that. I idolize their talent and their skills, and occasionally, yes, the person, and this is one such person, but generally I don't like to do that because it's stupid. But Sam Raimi has always been a big inspiration for me. Sam Raimi and Spielberg, both guys who came in really young, but Sam Raimi especially because Spielberg had the backing of like major networks and studios when he made his films. He made Duel with I think it was ABC or whoever it was, and he got a budget for that, and he was pushed around. He had a tight schedule, but he made the film. He had backing to do that. Sam Raimi went out with a bunch of his mates at about age 21. Raised like $300,000 from God knows where, a bunch of local investors, went out to the woods in Tennessee and made The Evil Dead. And that's a big inspiration for me because it's kind of like the can-do attitude radiates through that film. And that's what makes it so endearing, even with all its many flaws and mistakes. That's part of the film's charm is that sense of DIY nature. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because that's kind of what's inspired me as a filmmaker. I've come in with a can-do attitude, and I want to do things. I want to push the boundaries. People say, I can't do this, I can't do that, I haven't got the money to do that. I say, fuck all that, we'll find a way. Haven't really put that to the test physically yet, I want to make more films, but time is always a factor, mainly uni. It just takes up your time. Can't do the things you want to do. There's projects I want to do, but I want to do them. That's the main thing. I want to do them. I want to find a way to do them. If we can't do it a specific way, we find another. But it also means that like I'm not really acquainted with how things really work. I've got my head in the clouds, so to speak. So it's going to be an interesting process for me when I come out of that. This whole education, hold your hand malarkey. Yeah. How am I gonna fare in that world? I hope I'll fare all right. Yeah. That's my basic intro to this. Is like I'm coming from the perspective I can do anything I want, but I'm waiting for reality to smack me in the face. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Maybe that's a good angle to go down. But first of all, before I will get back in a second anyway. But the first thing I'd ask you, I was going to mention it earlier when we're talking about I think our process and sort of that sort of thing. But do you personally like the guerrilla style, potentially even preferably? Because I do. I really, really like just on the front line. Yeah. In the middle of nowhere. It was about locations. That's why I was going to bring it up. Mm-hmm. It's public spaces and going to the middle of bloody nowhere where no one's about. That is where I like to do stuff. And I don't just mean film. I mean all of it. Music videos, the lot. I love just going to natural environments, even preferably.
Isolated space.
Going to the middle of nowhere to do X, Y, and Z. That is much. I far prefer doing that.
You have the peace of mind of knowing that you have control over your environment. It's not being leased to you. Yeah. You're not on a set. It's not been, built for you with a certain time limit for when you can use it and when you can't use it. Yeah. If you've got the time, you've got the people, and you've got the commitment with those people and yourself, then you can do anything. Yeah. And people say you can't, you can. There's always a way to do it. Mm-hmm. I agree with you to an extent. I'd like to go down all avenues, but in terms of what kind of filmmaker I want to be, I'd probably rather work independently. I don't want to deal with the bullshit that goes on in Hollywood. I really do not. Like this, and it's unfortunate because it means certain things I'd like to do will probably not be within my reach in the way they would. Like, Bond. I'd love to direct a Bond film. I'm gonna have to direct a Bond fan film. That's fine. Yes. That's the sacrifice you make, and. For that freedom of control, peace of mind, and just ability to get on without a bunch of suits knocking on your door constantly, I'd rather do that. It'll be painful and it'll hurt, but
I completely I completely agree.
I am romanticizing it. Obviously, I think we both have romanticized ideals of it, but the point is we can try and bring that to fruition as much as we
people think I'm a complete delusional fantasist. People don't think in any way. There's so many people out there who actually think.
The point
I'm
is,
just
Matthew.
insane.
The point is, Matthew, and this is what drew me to is you're trying anyway. You know, people go, "Oh, look at that guy," but then look at them in 5 years. You know, look at them in 5 years. I mean, if you get a film degree and you don't have if you don't have it, and I don't know whether I have it. If I fail, then at least I tried. That's the main point I'm getting across, I suppose. But some people, you know, because I don't mean that to demean anyone in my year at all, because I'm the same as you guys, if any of you end up watching. I'm the same as anyone on the course. You know, I'm just trying to do my best. But the point is if you don't try and just push it as far as you can, I can't really see most people getting anywhere. You have to have something. But I mean, you know, any work is good work. It's an attempt.
I think you do have it. I think you do have it.
Oh, thank you.
And here's the reason why.
Yeah, go on.
Here's my thought process. I think from the minute I first I've kind of done like induction meetings, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Ever since I first sat down and had my induction meeting with you, I don't think I've ever creatively met someone and just do a simple discussion where I think it went off the rails pretty easily after like 10 we'll go through the formalities for the first 10 or so minutes and then we just really talked about what we cared about pretty early on. I've never seen creatively someone so eerily similar to myself.
Did you know the first 10 minutes of that interview I had a gun pointed at you under the table in case things went wrong? No.
Good job you didn't have to use it.
No. Well, you say that. Yeah. It was a really good chat. Sorry, continue.
No, but it was like I've never seen someone so similar in that way. And the reason why I say you have it is because it's not even like maybe I don't think so, it's more than I'm not sure. Right? I'm not sure about myself. I'm not going to be the person out here to say that I do or I don't. The vast majority of people out there think I don't, just on surface level. They think I don't. Mm-hmm. What I do have is the grit, and people saying I have it.
Yeah.
And that keeps me going.
Yeah.
People say I have it, and you take that away regardless, I still have the grit to get the job done.
Exactly. I mean, if people didn't like my stuff, I'd make stuff until they started liking it. Pretty much, yeah.
I got the grit and the drive.
Yeah.
People say I have it, whether I believe that or not. And you're very similar to me, so I believe you do. Because people say I do.
Yeah.
That's so. I think our processes are that similar. I think. Look, it is in the very least, as long as we're at least working cohesively together, I think we'll always get the job done. Mm-hmm. I do. I can honestly see you and a good few others who I've now recently networked with. I can see us really, really doing some magic. I can really say that.
There's an interesting sort of phrase. It's like a saying, and I've heard it, and I don't know who it's from, and they probably got it from someone else, and it's probably from some ancient book of wisdom. But it's basically, if you're in hell, keep going. And I've always applied that to the production process. I mean, when I've made films, you know, the ones I've given up on, they end early on. They don't end towards the end. They end early on. And there's been 2 that just haven't happened. One was a full script, and it's the worst fucking thing you'll ever read, so I'm glad it didn't get made. Would have had some cool visuals if I could afford the budget, which I couldn't. Couldn't afford the budget, so it's fine. But it was like this zombie film epic, and it was very Lovecraftian, inspired by Fulci and a lot of sort of Italian horror filmmakers I love. And then the other one was John Carpenter's Halloween, but in the UK. Mm-hmm. And it was shite. So we just like A levels started to ramp up and we just gave up. So I've got the footage. I'm going to edit it up properly one day. I did like a preliminary edit once it was abandoned because I was like, I'm stubborn. I want to get it done. You know, I want to at least have the footage we're done edited up. I'm going to redo that and try and do the best out of it. But basically, if you want to see me in a hoodie skulking around in a B-Tech Michael Myers mask, then the footage is out there. I'm just not going to show it to you. Yeah. Sorry, where were we before? I've gone on a tangent.
I don't even remember.
It was about filmmaking and having the drive.
But it was like it's the around the whole gorilla thing. This I really can't give any details on, but it won't be that long because this will be coming out on the 28th. Not so very long from now. Officially, probably under 2 weeks from now. At the time you guys are seeing this, there will be an announcement. I can say it is film related. I believe, yes. So if at the time of recording, this is completely present and correct to me. There will be some kind of film announcement within 2 weeks when you're seeing this that very, very much relates to the wilderness guerrilla feel that we talked about. Very much. Again, that is even earlier in development, to the point where if either myself, I again, I'm overseeing everything that the network does, but either whether myself or you are even directly involved in that, we don't even know at this point. But it's very, very early days. But a project like that in film will heavily relate to the kind of thing that we talked about. So that announcement is coming pretty soon. And I think that the title gives it away, kind of. You'll understand kind of what we're talking about from there. One last thing before we move on to this next section of what I'm reading here. The in terms of approach, you've said again that there's sacrifices to be made in terms of what IPs I can't play with because this is the life I've chosen.
Yeah.
I found, at least with what I'm doing now, other than my childhood movies, I had my fun and I did all those IPs in live action.
Yeah.
But it's now I'm like, this animation stuff with a Lego, which even then I can't get away with for the rest of my life.
Obviously, no copyright.
Yeah,
you've got to put it out as a non-profit.
It's got to be. It's only going to be for, like, let's be real. It's only. I can honestly see that Build a Better World division, whatever iteration of that is, that whole Lego culture. I can see that being probably its 10th anniversary and wrapping it up. Like, it started in 21. It's 25 now. I can see it going for another six or so years, and that's it. It's going to wrap up eventually.
Yeah.
And the amount of projects that I now have financed that we can make for it is obscene. But it's even then, I think the timeline in it is relatively short. I think the next few years will be very heavy in that.
Sure.
But it will wrap up. But the point is that there's, I can't, outside of that, when that is all said and done outside of animation, I can't dabble in these IPs anymore, and it is all originals, which, to be fair, now is really what the entertainment industry needs, to be honest.
Oh, of course, yeah. But it's for the love of the craft, you know?
Yeah.
We're just trying to make good stuff. That's not something I'm so much involved in, but the point is that it's there to be made, and, and we're there to do as good a job as we can because it's good practice, it's good experience, it's just good, you know?
But how do you think the user-generated space affects what we're doing? Because everything we're doing together is in the user-generated space. All the UGIs, everyone takes the piss out of me for coining, but there. That is where we're doing this, in the user-generated industry. How do you think that differs? Like, and obviously the obvious thing is more freedom, but how do you honestly feel about that whole space?
I don't know. There's a simple answer to that question, and then there's a very complex, long-winded answer. The simple answer is a lot more than I do about the alternative. It's like, just I'm more for it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's this, like, you know, can-do attitude that's coming in. Some people are going to do amazing work with the kind of attitude of I'm going to work my way up to the top and get myself into that sort of Hollywood position, and they're going to make some really good stuff. I have complete faith that, I mean, anyone from this uni could go out and do that with enough practice and enough sort of, if they open themselves to be taught and to let the experience wash over them, they will go and do great stuff. It's just not what I'm interested in doing as much personally. There's a desire that's there, don't get me wrong, but I want control above everything else, and I can do the kind of things I want to do mainly through my own control.
Yeah, definitely.
I can find a way.
We've been talking about this as a general sort of running little topic point that we brought up a couple of times across this first season of the new version of this pod anyway. But how do you feel about AI in all of this? Let him cook. He's pausing. He's taking a drink break.
This is really funny. It's very timely because, basically on Nick's module, he's taken AI out of the picture because there's been so many complaints about it, and I'm in the camp that would argue against it. The use of AI. I'd rather make my own film and just let it be its own thing. I think AI has uses, but I think AI is more useful in terms of benefiting sort of algorithms. And when it comes to film, probably in the most practical, physical sense, it's film restoration. And even then, I think it's been abused at the moment. I don't like the way that James Cameron is kind of, it's the new DNR, new digital noise reduction, if people don't know what that is. And it's just smoothing out the images and makes it look, I mean, have you seen some of like the True Lies 4K or the Aliens 4K? They look atrocious. They just look like, they genuinely look atrocious, and the AI like filtering is actually messing with background details and the focus of the image. It's really bad, really, really bad. But on the other hand, the restoration of Caligula, which is kind of an infamous film, there was a new cut of it that was released in 2023, and they used entirely new takes. It's basically a brand new film. Every take in the film is completely different, and they had to restore like 90 hours of film footage with sound that's obviously all on set. And originally, you would ADR it to get better sound clarity, and what they did was they used AI to filter out the background noise and get clean audio recordings. That's a good use of AI.
Yeah.
I think that has managed to preserve that film and make it into something new. Yeah, it sounds a bit tinny, but it's better than nothing. It's better than just having it on its own.
What do you mean about it being sort of a topic that's been removed, in the sense of like, do people not want to discuss it?
Yeah, it's not that they don't want to discuss it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. I don't know how it was last year in yours, but basically Nick was like, you make a 1 minute sort of AI film, like demonstrating the rules that I've taught you. Okay, fine. Wait, hang on a minute. AI? Why can't we just make a film? And he was like, oh, all right, I'll let you make a film if you want. And then there was so many complaints that he's just removed it. He's given in. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I told you our year was pushing back on him. And I myself, without kissing his ass, I've got to, like, I've got to respect
That's
for the
fine.
man.
Just our group do that enough. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine.
Well, I have heard. But I have a respect for the man. I disagree with him on a lot of things.
You've heard us doing it.
Well, we're going back to literalism now. Not literally.
What am I saying? This is a public forum. What am I saying? Right. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we've had loads of discussion. I've had discussions with Nick, not about AI, but just in general. Like, there's a lot of stuff I disagree with him on, but that's fine. But people have pushed back on this so much, and in this case, I'm not against it. Like, hey, cool. I don't like AI. I think it's a useful tool. I think, like many tools, though, it gets overused.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's it that Anton Chigurh says in No Country for Old Men? He's like, you find the one right tool for the job. I don't think AI is the tool for filmmaking. I think it's part of a package deal,
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be utilized
I think it helps in
effectively.
research and in print.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, sure.
Definitely.
I mean, it'll speed things up. It'll also take away jobs, and it'll take away the soul of it. This is a youngin's perspective.
Yep.
I've watched Nick's podcast, and you made some very interesting points about it, but I still think that overall it's going to be a negative influence unless we use it in the right ways. And you know what studios are like when it comes to doing things the right way. It's just... We don't need to say anything about that, do we? We've been talking about that for the last...
Cool. Right
long.
then. So moving on now, we've got in this next section, see if we can get a question from this. Can we have a scroll down, please? So, and just... I think if they've just find this new section here. Cool. Right then. So I'll give you 3 more questions. Okay.
Sure, no problem.
So let's talk about financial and career stability. Right then. Here we go. Is there anything you'd like to discuss in that section there, from what you can say?
Can someone loan me $1 million so I can make a film of my choice? I don't know. I mean, like, it's difficult. What specifically would you say?
Well,
if you're looking at, like, because I'm...
So, yeah, here's what I think here's what we'll do. Yeah. Obviously, we've talked about the UGI idea, and then also traditional filmmaking for the studio system. Do you think traditional filmmaking is still the dream? Or do you think in another form, like I think by and large for students, or do you think in another form, if you could say you can have the same exposure you would have if it was a Marvel movie, for example, except it will never see the light of day in cinemas, do you think people would be swayed?
Oh.
Because let's say one of our features, we're talking like 10 million views.
Yeah.
10 million views, or they release like an indie film that, let's say in this area, like Tyneside Cinema, for example, it gets shown in Tyneside, no one our age knows it even exists. It's like an indie film that's like a couple of over 50s, because I know what Tyneside Cinema is like. You got a couple of over 50s going to see it. Yeah. And there's like a couple of them dotted around the room.
Tyneside's lovely, but I think especially now that they've closed the Department of Education that they had there. Because I was the second to last course that did the BFI.
The pop-up one.
It was pop-up workshop.
I did that.
But anyway, we were involved, and they used to do stuff like that because they had the massive budget scare. They had to shut that down very sadly. I mean, the guy who ran the short film course, Ian Fenton, lovely guy. I hope you're doing well, Ian, wherever you are. You were a brilliant guy. But yeah, just I don't know. That's interesting. Do you know what my cheat answer is? Be both, but like I think we have to adapt ultimately. And if that does mean that traditional cinema gets less of a sort of like a look, as it were, people aren't as interested in it. What am I doing with this pocket? If people aren't going to the cinema as much, fine. I still probably want it in the cinema anyway. It's just. But again, it's romanticism. When push comes to shove, if you need to get by, yeah, I'll take the YouTube upload, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with either. It's just a new way of doing things.
I've thought of this. I do want the experience. As in, I do want to at least see it on the big screen one time.
Yeah.
If I get to see it on the big screen, I don't care.
My sort of way of looking at it, and again, we're going back to Evil Dead here, but in Britain, big controversy the film had, but that came later on. But basically, it got released in the cinema and on video at the same time. Revolutionary for its time to do that. And it was shown at the Prince Charles Theatre, and it's kind of infamous now at the Prince Charles Theatre. It's like they show it every year because it put them on the map, so to speak, in the 80s again. I'm not too well acquainted on their history, but they're well known for they showed The Evil Dead, and then it launched a video, and it was like the best-selling video in the UK.
Yeah.
So that's what we've got now. It's the modern equivalent of that is, you put it out for the premiere screening, and then it goes online. As much as I love DVD and Blu-ray, online is where it's at as in terms of like engagement, because we all have phones, we all have Instagram, for better or worse, mostly for worse, and that's that.
Oh, great.
Sorry, long-winded. That was the long-winded answer.
It's fine.
Yeah.
For this penultimate section, I'm going to hit you with a big one, because I actually don't think you'll shy away from answering this, because like me, I think you kind of you rationalise things, and you say things eloquently, and you mean it. And I think just like me, I don't think you'd have issues with a lot of topics really, and this is one of them.
Just be careful what you say.
Yep.
Yeah.
The red dot on his chest. Yeah. Let's talk about this with modern sort of filmmaking culture. How do you feel as a filmmaker about diversity being used? Because we've talked about Bond today, and I'll be honest, let's not beat around the bush. In that example specifically, that is the biggest concern people have.
Yes.
Of them just basically taking modern
and
sensibilities.
I can give you my answer for that now. Is that if you want my honest opinion, I would prefer that Bond remains a straight white English male.
Which I'm sure most people would.
Which most people would. The vast majority of people don't want that level of change because they recognise inherently that it's a betrayal of the character. It's uninteresting. Other characters there's scope for. There was grumblings about the Doctor when that whole thing happened, but we've regardless of the show's quality, I think we've come to accept that there is perhaps room for experimentation in that regard, and it has appealed to quite a lot of people. Not to me personally, but I'm old who. Oh, look at me, the trendy old Who guy. Yeah. But I am. That's where I came from in terms of Doctor Who. That's what I was interested in, is Tom Baker. I watched Tom Baker reruns and I loved it. But yeah, with Bond specifically, keep it like that because it's core to the character. Fleming's character is adaptable. Bond as a character has changed a lot over time. We've gone from Connery, who is kind of a romanticization of Fleming's original character. He's a lot more likable. That's for sure. Still hits women a lot though. So that's the thing that they've changed. This is a core element. Bond's misogyny is core to his character, and it hasn't gone anywhere. It wasn't gone from Daniel Craig's iteration, obviously, and that's a good thing. But it has changed. I'm fine with that. Because Bond needs to be believable for the times. Yeah. And at what point does Bond start turning to Johnny English with his just fumbling around with women? Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're just literally little golden nuggets. I think it is an absolute bonus. Yeah. I don't think anything to do with that is integral to the quality of a piece of media at all. Yeah. I honestly don't. If there's to do with how much our generation particularly, with how much it's just been harped onto us for like the last 10 years, right? How hard is it, do you reckon, to actually do something harmful, I think incredibly difficult. Like in terms of like what representation, when you do something harmful, it's probably so hard for us to do.
Yeah.
When you actually think of what's actually a harmful representation.
I think people have a tendency to overreact to certain things, and I've seen that this year with, but it's a mindset thing. You know, when we've been watching the films and the film analysis course, they haven't taken to it. And look, I get it. The subject matter is difficult. For example, Polanski's Repulsion. You know, Polanski, terrible individual. I wouldn't want to shake his hand. I'd rather punch him in the face. But he's a great filmmaker, and I'd never seen Repulsion before, and I was taken by it because it is so interesting. And it's a horrible film. It's really difficult to watch.
Can't stand it.
Yeah, it's really difficult to watch. But it was great. You know, it was really great. And I don't know, I think people kind of, sometimes they rely on emotion first. And this is ironic as coming from someone who values emotional feeling in film. You know, that's what makes me feel the most. That's probably why I like Bond so much, is those little moments, like, I don't know, Spy Love Me, when Roger Moore leads the charge as a naval commander and frees the men and just leads an army against Stromberg's men. You know, that captures my, like, the childhood imagination in me, and I'm just taken by it. I'm taken into another world. I don't know.
Yeah.
When it comes to diversity in general, of course, I think it's important. I think it's great that there are things being made that are different and new, and we're not just getting the same perspectives.
Yeah.
Adapting old stuff to fit with that is not the right way to do it.
And I also think that anything that we are doing, I think pressure to not put a foot out of line and do something harmful is very important.
Yeah.
Properly. Let's be honest, we know where the line is.
Of course.
And people think the line is far lower than it actually is. No, it can go pretty far.
Yeah.
We know where the line is.
Yeah. There's nuance.
There's
nuance.
We know where the line is. Pressure against that, 100%. Pressure for inclusion, no.
Yeah, I would rather, I mean, as a person, just as a person, as a human being, I'd rather get the right person for the job. If we're talking talent for the job, get the right fucking person for the job.
Yes. Absolutely.
Don't just hire someone because they're ticks a box.
Yes.
And that's not. Again. That argument is more nuanced. This is the unfortunate thing with the culture war as a whole thing. We're branching off now, but this is inherently part of it. And everything becomes oversimplified. It's tribal. That's the world today. We're tribal. We are a modern tribe, and it's like my side is right, your side is wrong. There isn't much room for nuance because the way the media plays up and exaggerates things means that we're in a constant state of perpetual war against ideology. You know, in the 70s, and again, this is a romanticization. As someone who came, as a fan of these, who didn't come from that era, but as a fan of 70s films, you get a wide variety of political thinking in spectrums. You get the films of John Carpenter, and you get the films of Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry, very sort of seen as quite right-wing, and probably a film that wouldn't get made today, but I think very important for its ideas and its contributions. Whether you agree with those ideas or not is irrelevant. It's having those ideas out there. And I just think, Joe, this is kind of moving beyond diversity now. I understand, but just that idea of diversity, not only of people, but of ideas, of expression. Obviously, racism, sexism, xenophobia, whatever. I mean, look, bad. I get it, but there is room to include this kind of material and include it in a way that's interesting.
Yes.
Not supportive, because I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But I'm all for freedom of expression. If someone wants to go and do that and make a film that's racist and sexist and xenophobic and God knows whatever label you could put on it, it
better be a satire comedy.
Yes. And if it isn't, and if it's in support of those disgraceful ideas, they will be shamed.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So, very briefly, are you confident about the future?
I am. I'm uncertain, but I am confident. It's weird to describe it. I'm just, because again, I've not really worked in professional filmmaking, but I know I've got the drive. I know I've got the commitment. I know there are other people around me who've got the drive. We just need to open our minds up and get our ideas out there and try and do something different.
Brilliant.
Just try,
Yep.
If we fail, then we fail.
Thank you, Andrew. Right, it's just a short one today, but let's go right into it with today's quiz, I believe it is, or game, or whatever it is. Do young people see a future in filmmaking? Right, let's go. Cool. First one. Round 1, general knowledge. Which social media platform has been most influential in launching young filmmakers' careers in recent years? Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, or LinkedIn? Yikes. I was hoping on Instagram and I can't say it. So I'm gonna go. Do you know what? The hardball answer would be TikTok. That'd be ballsy. If it's TikTok, I'd be very shocked. Well, no, I'm not shocked, which is why I'm going for it, but it would be a very interesting answer.
I'm looking at my imaginary watch here.
I think TikTok.
I would say TikTok as well.
Yeah. Short form content. And we will be in some way capitalising on that next year, but I'm not going to say why.
I know people who are in film criticism and film reviewing who have TikTok has been so big in
that's
them
true.
launching.
Yeah, I know people
so
in that as well.
It bleeds over.
What percentage of filmmakers under 30 believe streaming services have improved opportunities for young creators? I'm going to say... I believe it's 90. I'm going to stay safe and say 75.
I'm going to go with 90. 75?
Yeah.
75, perhaps 90 was too ambitious. Still.
What is the biggest challenge young filmmakers cite when pursuing a career in filmmaking? This will be interesting. A, lack of funding. B, no access to equipment. C, no audience interest. D, lack of creative ideas. I'm going to say... No, you do have access to equipment. I'm going to say funding.
I suffer from every one of those except equipment, so I would say funding is the big one. Yeah.
Because I was going to say equipment, like fancy cameras and stuff, but
if you're in a uni course, you've got that. That's what I'm looking at uni now is a £9,000 lease of equipment. Yeah.
Round 2, opinion-based, poll or discussion questions. Number 4, do you think traditional film school is still necessary to exceed in filmmaking? No. I don't.
No.
This is me sat on my high horse taking a film degree. Anyone in their right mind knows that in this industry, a degree is a little white flag you can wave. It is not the big.
It won't get you anywhere. I mean, look at Spielberg. Tarantino's the big one. He has always cited his lack of experience in film school. Yeah.
Would you rather work for a major studio or become an independent filmmaker or create content for social media? I'm going to go the middle ground, even though we technically are in social media with what we're doing together.
That's an extension of it, though. That's simply the promotional
I would say more
aspect.
indie. I'm going to go in the middle and say indie.
Easily. I not to disparage social media content, but I can't. It's not my world. I don't want to be in that world either, really.
Hope, back to what we were saying earlier. Do you think AI and virtual production will help or hurt opportunities for young filmmakers? I think if people can wrap their heads around it, I think it would help. Otherwise, not so much.
I think, if the right kind of sort of blocks are put in place.
Clearly, you lot aren't open to it on your end, first years.
I could give you. I'm not going to because I'm not gonna dox people, but
yeah,
there's a whole thing. Yeah, it's 50-50. We'll see. It depends entirely on the future.
Mm-hmm. Round 3, fun facts and myths. Oh, this will be interesting. 7, true or false? More films were independently produced in the last 5 years than by major studios.
True.
Yeah, I'm gonna say true.
That's. I mean, I don't think that's ever really been not the case. There's always been an independent market.
I'm just gonna say this. Do you want to give a shout out? Thank God in the modern age for A24, and I am going to now extend that. Neon, incredible.
Yeah.
I think A24 is the best studio in Hollywood, and Neon are coming close behind them because Neon are doing bits right now. Right, okay. True or false? The average Hollywood director starts their career before the age of 25.
False.
I wish it wasn't.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't, but it's that's another reason
That's
as well.
That's very optimistic that until their 30s or later. There's a lot of people in their 50s who don't break out.
That's another thing as well, because the position we're in, again, I'm looking at that. I don't know about you, but I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, no, fuck that. Yeah. I'm young. I'm chipper. I'm doing this now. No.
I waste enough time, Matthew. Yeah. I don't want to waste any more.
Right.
Put that in one of your scripts. Yeah. God, Andrew.
Right. 9. True or false? YouTube has produced more millionaire filmmakers than Hollywood in the last decade. I'm gonna say yeah.
I think true. I mean, there are kind of guys who have jumped off from YouTube into Hollywood. I can't remember his name, but what was he? Pony Smash? Was that what he was called? He did Shazam, and anyway, he's done some stuff, and he started out in YouTube.
Cool. Finn, I like the switch up of the thing this time. Well done. I enjoyed this week's. Yeah, I like that, the different rants for different things. That was great. No, well, that is it. Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you. It's been great having you on.
It's okay.
And that will just about do it for today. I hope everything's going all right at home with everybody. And if you, again, people who I know in person, if you got any other ideas for guests and things, let me know. Specifically, those topics and things you might want us to talk about here on the BWN podcast. But other than that, it's been a pleasure having you, Andrew. That's it for today. And we will see you next time for the penultimate episode. No, not the penultimate. What am I talking about? For number 13 of this first season back of the new iteration of this pod. But until next time, guys, we'll see you. Goodbye.